Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Creative Birth Strategy Podcast here on Clubhouse, on Spotify, on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, on Apple, on Amazon. We're here to provide consistent themes of education, networking, and hopefully creating some opportunities. And we provide a consistent educational piece every single week because you know why? We're focused on education first, always. I mean, yes, we're all in the service providing area of real estate. But at the end of the day, if somebody doesn't really understand how to get into understanding real estate and taking different slivers of real estate, they're never going to be that strategist. They're not going to be that successful real estate professional. So we're here to focus on that. We are one of the only, well, I think we're the only podcast, the only room here on Clubhouse that has a live podcast, has our own website, which is creativebirthstrategies.com. We have national events with one of our sponsors, Realty 411, throughout the country: LA, Dallas, Fort Lauderdale, New York, now Philadelphia coming up this week. And we're the only educational group that provides complimentary educational tools for our listeners and our engaged followers, as well as now we're offering a continuing education certification in asset-based lending for licensed real estate agents throughout the country. Happy to say that we're starting a couple of those up in April and May. We got 2 scheduled already. Hopefully we'll be able to schedule maybe half a dozen to a dozen more this year. But I'm really excited about this week coming up. The week's going to be really good. We got obviously our podcast on Saturday and Sunday here. It's a beautiful weekend, beautiful weather. Monday, we have a cigar event, a little wine and bourbon at a local cigar event, a location in South Jersey outside of Philadelphia. Then I have a couple great events that I'm speaking at this week. I'll be in Syracuse, Staten Island, Lehigh Valley. Friday, we have this great landlord mastermind luncheon at the Moonshine Philly, which is the day before our big event. We'll be there from like 12 to 2. Moonshine Philly is a great place. We've had events there in the past years, and looking forward to having that luncheon. And then Saturday all day, we'll be at the Mummer Museum 9 to 5, and we'll actually be podcasting the speakers for our podcast, interviewing individuals that are attending the event. We have close to over 120 people paid and registered. So I figure we'll get a lot of last minute individuals signing up for this upcoming event this week. You always get those last minute people. So I'm pretty pumped. It always takes a little bit to get the juices flowing on a lot of this stuff, but I'm pretty excited about it. I couldn't make the Denver event for personal reasons, but I was told it was very well attended, very well run. So we need to continue that push now to provide another great event, a second year here in Philadelphia. So I want to thank our sponsors that we couldn't do this without them. Okay, so I just want to make sure you're aware of our sponsors. Please patronize them if you can. I would appreciate that. One is Perkatech. You already know Perkins, our SEO strategist. For some of you, will get to meet him live at the event in Philadelphia. He'll be handling all the AV. He has been a vital piece to the pie of everything, of social media blasting, podcasting, video work, everything. I call him our Oz behind the drape. He's been a great sponsor, great friend, and business associate. So we thank him. I want to thank MB Capital, our referral partnership that we have with them, where we provide unsecured business lines of credit. And then Realty 411 with Linda Pelagas, who is our national publication that has been providing and collaborating with Creative Birth Strategies on these events throughout the country the last couple of years. She's been a great asset and an ally and business associate. And then as well as Lendmark Capital, myself, we are a direct private lender in the asset-based lending space. I have some really cool announcements about what we're doing now. We're doing single-family 30-year fix up to 80% on single-family, 75% on 2 units through 25 units on DSCR, 30-year fixed money. We offer fixed to rent, fixed to flip up to 90% on purchase, 100% on construction. We now offer new construction up to 90% loan to cost, meaning if you have the land, you're probably going to get 100% vertical on the construction costs. So you have all your permits in place, everything in place. We're now providing new construction, and that rate's going to be somewhere. I mean, any of the fixed to rent, fixed to flip money, depending on your experience, is going to be somewhere between 9.75 and 12%. And we'll go up to 70% to 75% loan to value on after repair value on any of the value adds. We're also doing value add for multifamily. We'll even look at mixed use where there's a blend of some commercial presence to the property. We like to keep it under 49% of the rentable square footage. And then we provide blanket loans. We're doing a bunch of portfolio loans right now. And we also obviously offer unsecured business line and credit and strategy discussions in and advisory in lending. So Lendmark's been a great ally to myself. I'm really excited about where we're at. Currently, we have about 32 million in our pipeline in the first quarter, coming into the second quarter. So pretty excited about what's going on there as well. So today's discussion really ties into a lot of the lending pieces, but construction costs for real estate investors in 2024. But let's first discuss the market a little bit and what's going on. I put some pretty interesting articles up this past week, getting a little banter from it. You know, the rates closed out at about 7.01 on Friday. Again, this has been the national average for the last 40 years. This is not something that's just starting yesterday. So I put this mortgage rate reality check from 1975 to 2024. And if you look at the rates from 75, it was like 9.17. 1980 was 14.42, 85, 13.06, 1990, 10.13, 95, 8.79, 2000, 8.26. Then we went to 2005, 5.77. Then 2010, we were at 5%. 2015, we went down to 3.72. Then we had the anomaly in 2020 where we've been down to 2.77. Now in 2024, we're back up at 7%. Man, you had to see all the rhetoric. Oh, income's different. Pricing is different. Listen, you make money when you buy. Rates are irrelevant. You make money when you buy. If you do the right renovation costs, the right things to the property, you treat it correctly, you're going to do well. I enjoyed the banter. I want to thank anybody that's listening and that made comments to my post, but I was just posting just to kind of get clarity to give back to, you know, my followers on Facebook, LinkedIn, and all the other social media buckets. But it was really interesting seeing the reaction to a lot of people. So again, the rates are what they are right now. Now, also very interesting this past week, the Fed would be smart to take time to cut rates due to persistent inflation. Look at what the cost of living looks like. What does your gas tank look like? What does your food look like? What does it look like to go out for dinner? I mean, it's all inflated. It's like an inflamed muscle. There's something not right here, right? So obviously, everybody sees it, including the Fed, except our government. So who keeps creating inflation? Our government. So the Fed has to stay independent. They're not going to bow to social media pressure or media pressure just to lower the Fed rate to satisfy the insecure or the uneducated. The rates are going to stay where it's at. I don't think much changes. You might see something after Labor Day just to maybe get the presidential election stimulated, but I don't know. I don't think the Fed's going to make a lot of massive moves. But that's an article that I saw today in the past couple of days that I posted. Also, multifamily rental trends are pointing up, which is telling me home ownership is waning and it's kind of taking a backseat, and more qualified individuals, instead of buying a home right now, they're renting. Now, I'm meeting more clients today that are renting, that are buying investment properties than I've ever met before. They just can't be bothered having their own home ownership. They rent a beautiful apartment and then they own multiple investment properties. That's not uncommon. And they're seeing more trends in the multifamily eat, work, and live environment, as well as the build to rent environment, increase over the last several quarters now, where it's making a massive rebound. Now, let's kid each other. A lot of these real estate syndication groups took a bath a couple years ago when they misevaluated a lot of their rates and got a lot of them. You know, they were thinking rates were going to stay at 4 or 5%, and sorry to say, they're now at 6 or 7%. So their numbers are way off. So I saw a lot of trades of turnkey multifamily opportunities uh, present themselves over the past year as well. I'm starting to see some announcements also on some malls that are being traded and are now being converted into a blend of residential living, medical, and as well as the office retail. So I'm starting to see some of those announcements as well coming on. So that was an article that I posted uh, this past week. So let's dive into construction costs for real estate investors 2024. Now we do provide a spreadsheet it's called a rehab construction budget spreadsheet with a draw schedule. If anybody does not have it, please reach out to me via email or text and send me your information so I can send you that spreadsheet. I think it's extremely helpful when you're evaluating a deal. So real estate development is a complex process that involves a lot of planning, designing, and construction. One of the biggest challenges that real estate rehabbers face is managing construction costs. Construction costs can quickly spiral out of control, leading to delays in budget overruns and even project failures. We see that often when you see properties listed that they're gutted to the studs, and then it's just listed because something went wrong. So let's discuss some strategies to reduce the construction costs in real estate development. One, plan and design efficiently. First step in reducing a construction cost is a plan and design efficiently and plan efficiently. Use cost-effective materials. Number two, another way to reduce construction costs is to use cost-effective materials. This doesn't mean sacrificing quality or durability, but rather finding materials that offer the best value for money. For example, using precast concrete panels instead of traditional masonry can save time and money on construction. Optimize construction processes. Optimizing construction process can help reduce costs. This means finding ways to streamline construction workflows, reduce waste, and improve efficiency. Number four, negotiate with contractors. Negotiating with contractors can also help reduce construction costs. This means working with contractors to find ways to reduce costs without sacrificing quality or safety. For example, negotiating bulk discounts on materials on agreeing for a longer construction timeline in exchange for a lower labor costs. Number five, use technology to improve efficiency. Finally, using technology can help improve construction efficiency and reduce costs. This means using tools like building information modeling, BIM, to optimize design and construction workflows, or using drones to survey construction sites, or identifying potential issues before they become costly problems. How can I reduce construction costs without sacrificing quality? You can reduce construction costs without sacrificing quality by planning and designing efficiency using cost-effective materials, optimizing construction processes, negotiating with contractors, and using technology to improve efficiency. What are some cost-effective materials for real estate development? Some cost-effective materials for real estate development includes precast concrete panels, steel framing, and fiber cement siding. How can technology help reduce construction costs? Technology can help reduce construction costs by improving efficiency, reducing waste, and identifying potential issues before they become costly problems. Reducing construction costs is a critical part of the real estate development. By planning and designing it efficiently, using cost-effective materials, optimizing construction processes, negotiating with contractors, and using technology to improve efficiently, developers or rehabbers can reduce costs without sacrificing quality or safety. Joseph, good morning and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning, construction costs for real estate investors 2024.
Hey, Joe. Good morning. I'm a buy and hold investor. I've done a couple of burrs. I also invest in tax liens in the state of New Jersey. I do a little bit of private lending here and there. No, this topic is one, as you mentioned before, right? You've seen properties that are on the MLS and they're gutted down to the studs, and it's a clear issue that someone ran out of money, and they didn't account for the demolition. You hear a lot about cost of materials and cost of labor have significantly increased, and it's impossible to get a job done. Part of it is true. The other part of it is you're just not shopping around, right? Are you planning ahead to where you can go get that bulk price from whomever you're getting the materials from, right? If you're doing room by room, you're not going to buy enough materials to get that bulk price. So you might want to buy the 50 sheets of sheetrock in one fell swoop. Who are you using to do it? Do the job. We've talked about learning how to do stuff yourself. I mean, you could save yourself a couple of thousand here or there easily to keep your budget on track. But it's also about who you select to do your jobs, right? There's some contractors out there that are, they want to make $1 million on one job, and that's what they want to do. And then there's other people out there that are in there on their own that are looking that are reasonable. We like to call them investor friendly, right? You find those people through your RIAs. I mean, one of the mentors that I know said, just go to your local hardware store, like Home Depot, and go there first thing in the morning and find the person with the banged up, rustiest van or truck and go talk to that person. If they have that nice truck with the, what do they call it now that they put on the side, right?
Little sign.
I forget what was that?
A little sign,
Yeah, the sign, but they wrap their trucks, right? They look shiny. They wrap their trucks. Someone's paying that bill, right? They have that monthly payment on that truck, and you're going to be the one that's paying it. So there's many ways to. I wouldn't call it cut corners, but there's many ways to be economical in your decisions when you're doing a repair. A lot of it's planning, right? Know what you're doing. Know what your market requires in order for the property to be sold, so you're not over renovating, and keep your costs within budget.
Joe, I have a conversation with a client almost every couple of hours in regards to fix to rent, fix to flip. And I say, hey, what's about your 20% contingency of reserves of your construction costs? They're like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Why do I need 20%? You're telling me you're never going to make a mistake on any of your renovation estimates, or your contractor's not going to make a mistake, or the home inspector that went through it as well didn't miss something? Like, I just don't understand where the disconnect is with some investors, where they think they could run lean and it's going to work in their favor when it's renovating a property. Is it because of all these make believe shows that are making it sound or look so easy? Do you think there's some misleadings there, or do you think maybe the sell-a-thons that are being offered at the RIAs are misleading a lot of these investors into deals that they don't realize they're being a little too zealous in their numbers?
Yeah, listen, I think it's a combination of those. I also think you have a lot of new investors in the market, right? Everybody's a real estate investor these days, and they come and they talk to someone like me, and they don't ask the questions, right? Oh, you've done how many burrs have you done? Oh, it must be easy. No, it's not easy. There's a lot of turmoil that goes with the territory, and then it also goes into this image of what a real estate investor is. I don't need to lift a hammer. Well, on your first deal, you better be lifting a hammer if you want to get your costs down, right? And if you're going to have a GC, well, that's going to cost you 10 to 20% on top of whatever your construction costs are. So just GCing a project on your own, you could save yourself 10 to 20% of cost. Yeah, but there's a combination of factors that just lead people to believe that this is something that's easy to do. I mean, once you open up walls, all bets are off, right? You don't know what you're going to find behind that. Whether it's termite damage, it's a leaking pipe, it's stuff that's out of code that you now have to bring up to code. You never know what you're going to find. So, you never find $1 million that was stuck behind the wall. But no, it's just, I don't think people prepare for that.
So let me break down from a lending perspective what you need to look for first. And then we're going to talk about hard costs and soft costs, and then we're going to go to Justin. So first, a lender wants to, if you're a new investor, so anybody below, if you've never done a transaction with ownership, guess what, guys? You're a newbie. I don't care that you're a licensed realtor. I don't care that you walked by Home Depot. I don't care you walked by Lowe's several times. You are a new investor if you've never had ownership in a renovation. Now, if you've done at least 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 plus, your range of construction leverage goes up and your rate comes down. So rates could be as high as 12%, 12.5% if you're a newer investor, and they go as low as 9.75 if you're an experienced investor. Your leverage goes up to 90% on purchase with a more experienced investor, and your leverage starts at 75% on purchase as a newer investor, or to 80%. That's a fact. And your origination is anywhere between 1 and 3 points, depending on your experience level and credit score, of course. Credit score should be at least 680 above. There are programs that are 660 and above. And when you look at and if you're a newer investor, anybody listening in, it's your first deal. Stay at 45% of your purchase price or under. Meaning if you're buying something for $100,000, keep it no more than $45,000 to $50,000. Why? The odds of you failing are higher. And I don't want to own your property. I don't want a gutted out house and you screwed up. Now, if somebody's buying something for $100,000 and they're putting $100,000 in, I'd like to see that they've done one relevant completed in the last 24 months to 48 months. I want to see it. I want to verify it. At least one, maybe even two. You're at 100% of the purchase price based on your renovation numbers. So nobody thinks about that. They're like, oh, this is a great deal. If I put 100,000 into it, it's going to be worth a lot of money. I'm buying it for $75,000. Have you ever done a rehab like this before? Oh, no. Well, you better find somebody that is. Well, maybe I can partner with the contractor. Does the contractor have a 680 credit score? Have they owned properties, or they've just done third party? Now, third party construction does apply, but it doesn't always apply. Again, depending on the lift of the deal. And I have deeper discussions. Now, with the new construction, this is interesting. We are rolling out a program where you could have flips and renos completed, which will equal to new construction. I don't know what all the numbers are yet. We're still waiting for underwriting to give us guidelines. But this is really exciting that because I get a phone call a day. Hey, can you do new construction? Have you ever done any? No, but I've done 10 flips or I've done 5 flips. And I have to turn them down because right now the going scenario for construction is you have to have 2 completed new construction in the last 48 months to be funded a new construction project with ownership. Well, I've helped people sell new construction. Doesn't count. I watched somebody build a house. Doesn't count. You need to have ownership. So if you can find a qualified borrower that obviously has done new construction and tag along for the first couple deals in the interim right now till things shift in the new construction lending space, that's going to be the best way to kind of get that level of experience for yourself, if that makes sense for anybody out there. Let's break down hard costs and soft costs real quick. A hard cost is a cost directly related to the physical construction of a building or structure. Hard costs are sometimes referred as brick and mortar costs, and they include any expense that goes into the initial construction process, from manual labor, materials, utilities, HVAC systems, cement, and even landscape. And they are called hard costs because they are fixed, tangible expenses, which makes them much easier to identify and anticipate than soft costs. So what's included with hard costs? Importantly, hard costs include all costs related to the construction of the building structure throughout, not after the project is complete. For example, initial landscaping work such as planting trees, laying down grass and fertilizer, sculpture of the front lawn. What is an example of soft costs? Soft costs is any cost that's not directly related to the physical structure of a building or structure. Soft costs will typically include architectural design, engineering fees, environmental research, marketing, repairs, and maintenance, insurance, legal fees, and permits. They are called soft costs because they are generally not fixed and related to intangible assets that tend to be more difficult to anticipate. I don't think people take soft costs into account enough. Permits and the timeline to how long permits take, architectural designs, if you're restructuring the structure of the building, that costs money and time. Time kills deals. Time costs money. I'm not going to lend on a loan that are pending permits for months. I'm going to be very cautious unless it's somebody I've done a lot of business with. If this is your first rodeo, I want permits looming like in front of me at closing table. Good morning, Justin. Welcome. Brief overview to who you are, what you do, and thoughts to construction costs for real estate investors 2024.
Good morning, Joe. Justin Jefferson, small time developer, getting my feet wet with that. Been having a lot of good meetings on that lately. Done several flips. I'm getting into the new construction stuff myself. I'll share a little bit about how I'm getting into it because I've managed several new construction projects. I've done it as a career project manager for large companies. I've done it for small time developers doing commercial projects. And so, and obviously I've managed flip for people and I've done my own flip. So there's the difference. And Joe just kind of got through explaining that difference. But one of the things I just wanted to share with you guys this morning, just based on what I heard, I kind of took some notes, Joe. Um, but the first thing, if it's your first time, then or if you're a beginner, if it's your first 10 times, right? You're moving, you're trying to find the right GC. The next person you choose, or the first person GC you work with, you need to have a good experience. Take it from somebody who's currently shaking back from a bad experience, right? And I was a novice when I had the bad experience. So, and I know other experienced people, far more experienced than me, that can have this same or similar bad experience. You got a lot of things to consider when working with a GC. One, they're a human being who feeds their family based on the progress of your project, and sometimes they have to choose between showing up at your project and showing up at another project where a check may be present. So we got to keep a couple of things in mind when working with these people. You have to use your judgment and kind of try to analyze and take note of some of their personal attributes, right? As far as how they carry themselves and their level of honesty. If they say they're going to be there at 8:30, are they there at 8:30 or 8 o'clock? Right? If they don't make it till 9, do they call and let you know they're not going to make it there till 9? All of these things are signs of how this business transaction is going to go. It's not like a realtor. It's not even like a lender, right? They have far, we have some things to um, hold us accountable, right, with regards to the law, but not necessarily with showing up to your project. That's what, if you want to get real detail, which I recommend a lot of newbies should, is getting a solid contract that lines out what their roles and responsibilities and expectations are on your project. And so, not to go too far off, you want to make sure they're a company that can afford, right? GCs who are in business don't need your money to go buy materials to do the first step of your project, right? That's a sign. Um, and this is where the contract comes in handy in their favor. With the contract, they go get the materials, they go do the first stretch of work, it gets approved, and a lot of banks require this, and then you pay the contractor, and it goes progressively like that. Okay, so most GCs, the ones I've managed at the large companies, right? That's how they operate. They can't come work for a larger company, a DSLD, a DR Horton, or any of those places, right? They can't work for them unless they're able to front these materials to get the job started. Okay, so you got to understand that dynamic because it's really good with holding them responsible. And one more thing I wanted to touch on that Joseph mentioned, but I wanted to kind of put a caution sign around what he said. He mentioned becoming a GC in order to save you 10 to 20% on your project. If you are experienced with doing a lot of work, right, then that might be something to look into. If you've not done any construction or much construction, then you probably won't be serving yourself well, because you still, even as a GC, have to be able to know what to look for in guys, in stubs, which is a little bit, they have even less parameters and legal guidelines in which they have to abide. So you really need to be astute in construction before you try to save money that way. I think the best way to save money with a GC is getting a quality one, right? And I also think, Joe, I'm gonna throw this in there too. I think if it's within your first 5 to 10 flips, the bank should require you to have a GC that meets some of these qualifications.
Yeah.
They have a certain level of insurance. Will do to front at least $15,000 to $20,000 worth of construction in the beginning, and you do that, you really you're pretty much in the same as far as the pool of contractors you're going to choose from. But I'll stop there.
No, but Justin, you brought up some good points. Like I do fixed to rent loans all day, right? Do you know how many conversations I have with investors saying, "Hey, I'm going to do most of the work." I'm like, "Well, who's going to be licensed here?" Well, we could do it ourselves. I mean, who's pulling a permit if you're ripping out a bathroom or a kitchen? Oh no, we got it covered. I'm like, listen, I'm not going to be part of your shutdown of your project. Okay. If you don't have a licensed GC in place with a draw schedule to go from, I don't care if you're going to do some of the work. Just don't tell me in an email that you're gonna do some of the work and the GC's not going to do anything. Don't tell me that. The GC is going to be responsible. Their insurance is going to be responsible. Their workmanship is going to be responsible for the draw schedule requests. Okay. This is not like I said, flip that house video and everybody's real pretty and handsome and it's all bullshit. Okay. People got to stop thinking they could just take a sledgehammer and put it to a wall and it's all going to work out just fine. Like Joe said, Justin, you open up wall number 1, you don't know what's coming. I know there's not enough inventory out there for the number of interested buyers, right? But when investors think of a new construction project or rehab project, they often don't think of the high cost with the brand new materials that are and features that put that final finish value there. Okay, I don't think there's enough concern there thinking it's just so easy. If you're going to have a solid rental, and you want it to last, a good wood laminate flooring instead of going crazy with ceramic and all kinds of other things. It's a rental. You're not living there. If where you live, if you want brand new wooden floors, that's different. That's where you live. But for a rental, a good hardwood laminate through the whole place and have that tenant throw down throw rugs. Because the turnaround in cleaning that flooring up when they leave is going to be a lot easier. The subway tiles, through the bathroom. Simple to the point. It's not your bathroom. It's your tenant's bathroom. It's your investment property that you're trying to bear a return on your investment. So you need to conduct a thorough market research involving the area where you're buying these investment properties to get a leg up on the competition, help you make a better decision. On choosing the right location to spend money on the right type of construction costs and understanding your financing options. Listen, there's a couple hundred really true direct private lenders, and there's 3 million brokers that cling on to direct private lenders. Okay. And most of the 3 million brokers have been in the lending industry about a half hour. Okay. And that is not good either. I get a lot of failed project underwrites by people that have no experience doing what they're doing and miscalculated every number possible to try to get that loan to the closing table. You need to understand financing. And that's why we're now offering a continuing educational course for licensed real estate agents throughout the country. It's 3 credits. I don't know why not enough RIAs want to do this, but obviously it doesn't make them enough money on the bottom line. So I guess they want the sell-a-thon. They don't want the real actual physical information for their real estate their registrants that are members of their groups. Still trying to figure that one out. But understanding financing options is the most important part. I don't understand why there's not enough financing presentations at all these investor groups throughout the country. They're all selling the frontline bullshit story and not talking about the intricacies to what's going on. I could ask I could ask 10 investors, and most people don't know the difference between traditional lending, direct private lending, aka asset-based lending, or hard money. They do not know the difference. Fact. Also, build a strong relationship with developers and contractors. Like Joe said, and Justin said, go to Home Depot and grab coffee with a bunch of contractors that are loading up 2x6s. Buy them a coffee. Buy them breakfast at the coffee shop at the Home Depot. Get their cards. Visit their sites. See what's going on. Managing your construction risk effectively is very important. What separates a successful construction investment from a failed one? There are a few common risks associated with this. You should be aware you can know how to deal with them. The most common is timeline delays, what Justin was saying. Time kills deals, time kills profitability, which can be alleviated through careful project planning and working closely with the contractor. Another common issue is struggling to implement the exit strategy. I'm a big fan of having a button-up guy involved, a home inspector involved, and alleviating some of the pressure from the contractor. So I always brought a home inspector in with the GC to double check the numbers and give me a home inspection. So if the GC missed anything, the home inspection picked it up, and then I added that to my bid with the GC. And then on the way out, when the GC they were near completion, about a week or two out, hey, I'm going to need my last draw. Great, I'll send my home inspector back out. I'll also send my button-up guy that'll come out with the home inspector and do a walkthrough. Because I'm telling you, the GC doesn't know what their subs are always doing. And that could be a situation where you could catch some really vital things before that GC takes off to the next project. And now you're chasing people down. The project doesn't get done. Even having a good cleanup crew to clean the place out and get it ready for the tenant is an art form. I'm going to go back to Joseph. What's your thoughts on some of the discussions we just had, Joe, in regards to construction costs for real estate investors 2024?
No, good stuff, right? And when we talked about materials, the one thing that I want to point out is, there's a lot, especially in my area, a lot of these luxury apartments that are going up, and they're going up maybe significantly more than what a regular rental would go for. They're calling them luxury apartments. You're not in competition with those people, right? I mean, they're offering, clubhouses and gyms and all that other stuff. So, and if they're asking $500 to $1,000 a month more, they have to put a lot more amenities in there. So, you don't necessarily have to go for the more expensive material, because you're not going to hit that luxury apartment kind of look or feel to it, right? So I wouldn't. It's nice to have. It's nice to put in there, but it's not necessary. So that's just one of the points that I thought that needed to get out there when we started talking about rehab, right? Because we always talking about rehab, whether it's buy or sell, we always talk about over rehabbing, which winds up pushing you over your budget. No, you do, and I agree with Justin. If you don't know what you're doing, right, you need a GC. But if you have at least a little bit of knowledge to make it dangerous, you might be able to get away with the GC and just hire licensed people to get the job done, right? But yeah, that's kind of where it all plays a role in that, Joe.
Well, that goes back to what type of level of construction costs are you going after on a project? If it's lipstick on a pig or it's a full-blown gut to the studs, and your level of experience doesn't match up with the gut to the studs, why are you doing that? Why are you not partnering with somebody that has that level of experience? Why are you even getting involved with a project like that? And why is somebody financing that knowing that you have a lack of experience in that scenario? That scares the shit out of me.
Right. No, you're right. And when you're going into it, you should have some generalized idea on what it's going to cost you per board for sheetrock, how much to lay flooring. I know that I could probably get my flooring laid for about $2 a square foot. Laminate, vinyl, simple, not glued down, just simple click lock flooring can get laid down for about $2 a square foot. You might be able to get it a little bit cheaper, maybe 25 cents a square foot cheaper. But just knowing that, okay, what's the square footage of the place? What's the square footage cost of my material? And add $2 onto that, and there it is. So that's your amount. You could generalize what roofs go for, right? Don't get me started with roofers. But generally what a roof goes for, and budgeting high for something is not a bad thing, right? If you come in that low at the end of the day, at least you were prepared for any additional expense, right? And you also got to talk about the 10% extra for materials.
Yeah.
Right? Someone's going to cut something wrong, or there needs to be a little bit more coverage. So buy that extra box, or flooring, or a couple of sheets of sheetrock to have on hand, because it's just going to suck when the job needs to stop because you're short one board or one box or something. So, yeah, that's kind of what I have in that realm, Joe.
Yep. So there's also some hidden costs. Thank you, Joe. And there's some hidden costs that for real estate investors that you need to keep in mind when it comes to rehab construction. Okay. Bad tenants. Tenant seems all nice when you buy the property. Oh yeah, you can do whatever you got to do to get this place in shape, and then it turns into a serialistic nightmare, right? It may not always happen often, but it happens enough where it could cost you if that tenant starts working against you in the renovations. I'm a big fan of getting the property empty at closing, but it doesn't always work out that way. But that's going to be a way of really avoiding a lot of bad timelines, especially if there's a tenant that seemed or acted cooperatively and then became very uncooperative. Really some bad energy in that world. That happens. Then you have the lackluster contractor, the ones that slack off, like Justin was saying, or doing a bad job. You have to be there and present. You gotta either hire a project manager or an intern to stay on top of the completion of that project, or you gotta have your ass there. You can't just hope it's all gonna just work out fine and just wire money and it's just gonna get completed. It's just that doesn't work that way. It never has. And also understanding insurance and understanding property taxes to the property. If you're pulling permits and you're letting the town know you're restructuring and redoing this property, your tax impact is changing on that property. I don't care what you tell me. There's no way that the taxes are going to stay the same. Okay? You need to understand, is there going to be how much of an impact that's going to be, and is that going to impact the selling of the property or the holding of the property from a DSCR perspective? And insurance right now, I hear horror stories on the builder's risk side converting over to the long-term insurance policy play right now. In some states, it's extremely difficult. I mean, Florida, forget about it. It's like a nightmare. It doubled or tripled or quadrupled. And understanding maintenance costs to the property once you stabilize the property and what warranties are in place as well. Do you have warranties on the mechanicals? Do you have warranties on the fridge, the stove? Do you have a home warranty on the property? Is it cost benefit? I agree it does. I also want to understand my maintenance costs. And do you want to have a maintenance contract with somebody outside your property manager? These are things you need to think about if you're going to hold the property long term. And as you're getting into the actual physical acquisition of the property and looking at the rehab and the construction costs. Justin, some additional thoughts to construction costs for real estate investors 2024.
Yeah, yeah. One more thing I kind of wanted to touch on. It's a little different topic, but it's the same thing. But you really need to be confident in what it is you want done, and you're about to ask that contractor to do. Because being unsure and having anxiety, right, rushing or having a unsure spirit about what you're trying to do, it's like pouring blood or mulch in the water for a shark, right? And a lot of contractors just can't help themselves from taking advantage of that or working it into how they want to operate their business based on how you are feeling, whether, you're so rushed that you're not paying attention, which has happened in my case, right? Or you are less than knowledgeable on certain things, so they're able to get over on you. But like I was mentioning in the beginning, there are a couple of ways to kind of limit your chances of running into these types of contractors. So, but it is definitely something you want to be wary of your first time to big business, for them taking advantage of people who want to do their first flip or do their first little renovation. And, it's enough spread for them to get good. You got to make sure they're putting the quality of materials, you're paying them for if they're going to get the materials. So as Joe Teller was, alluding to, there is some homework you're going to have to do. There are things that you are going to have to or should be interested in learning about and taking on yourself. So I just wanted to throw that in there too.
Appreciate that, Justin. And you know what? I don't think people really get granulated enough when getting vested into a property unless they're surrounding themselves with very particular investors. So like Joe has an event on a monthly basis, deals, wants, what's it called, Joe? What's the name of your group called?
Dinner and Deals.
Dinner and Deals. And Joe's rather direct, which is good because I think people need a reality check. And people will put stuff out there, but he'll ask very direct questions. And to me, when I attend an event like that or I talk to a client, I ask very direct questions. I'm amazed that how many investors can't give me a direct answer back. So, like from a construction cost perspective, what is your rehab cost? You can't tell me your rehab costs are somewhere between 75,000 and 100,000. That's impossible. You need to know your numbers. You can't have a $25,000 variance. You just can't. If you don't have the $25,000 sitting in the bank account that's just sitting by itself, and you're off by 25,000, the lender is not giving you more money. You gave them an estimate of $75,000. If the numbers came in 100,000, you're out 25,000. If you don't have it, that's the property that's up for sale that's gutted to the studs and being sold as is, and it's been sitting on the market for the last 90 days. because somebody else is trying to figure out how to complete it from the past mistakes of a bad investor. I don't.
Joe,
Yeah, go ahead, Justin.
yeah. I just wanted to throw this in there too, man. Look, you guys, y'all don't have to guess. They don't need that. They don't. There's almost no reason, right, to have that variance, right? Go to Home Depot. Everything's online. All the materials that you need. Put a price. You know, put a price list together, right? You should be really close because you should be doing your own levels of research, or you are setting yourself up to fail. And I just kind of wanted to. The information is out there for you to um, put it in a portfolio or put it in a presentation form for a lender for yourself, right? So you can track these things because you are an investor and it is a job. So I just wanted to add.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. You need to do your research. I don't say go into analysis paralysis, but you need to have some proficiency and efficiency with construction costs. Having a construction software or a spreadsheet that you pencil down and go over each and every scenario that can come up on that project. You also have to look at the rental property expenses for the investor overall, even through the construction cost numbers too. You got to understand property taxes, you got to understand maintenance, you got to understand utilities and whose responsibilities to the utilities. So while you're doing the construction, you're also setting the tone to where the responsibility will be versus landlord versus tenant. Are you going to separate the meters? Are you separating this? Are you adding a water heater? I mean, if it's a two-family, if it was a shared water heater, what's the cost expense to that mechanical addition? There's a lot of thought putting behind in utilities for the bottom line of your debt service coverage ratio on the back end that's not taken into account. Remember, I'm not taking utilities, property management into my debt service coverage ratio. You should be. Okay, understanding property management and how they're going to handle the maintenance and management of that property, homeowners insurance, appraisal fees. So everybody's always, how much is an appraisal? Well, it's somewhere between 550 and 750, depending on if it's a 1 through 4. If it's a 5 through 25, it's $1,000 to $2,500. I mean, that's just market. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. Well, then I don't know what to tell you. Can I just do a drive-by? No, that's you're making shit up. You're making shit up. Now you're trying to create shit in your head to make it work for you. I'm a big fan of home inspectors. I like getting a home inspection on the front end, and I like getting a home inspection on the back end of every process of every rehab I've ever done. Understanding broker fees and tenant screening, understanding the marketing of your project, property improvements, accounting fees, vacancy costs. People do not take account that they're going to be vacant potentially for 2 to 3 months when they're turning the unit over. Joe, how long is your typically now on average? Be realistic. What do you estimate for vacancy on your property since you self-manage?
I usually have my stuff rented within a month.
Okay, but do you give yourself 2 months just in case?
So the way I manage my stuff, I have a nest egg to cover for multiple issues, right? Whether a roof goes bad or what have you. But I mean, yeah, I'm not hurting if I'm vacant for 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, I appreciate that because I have one client of mine that always took 3 months into account on everything, and he nest egged that money, and he never had a problem because he was somewhat particular in the tenant screening. I have one client owns, I think it's close to 600 properties. I mean, they'll leave the place empty for 4 months before they put the right tenant in. I mean, it is Philadelphia, so once you get a tenant, you're kind of married to them. So you want to be very cautious who you let in. So his screening process is very particular. He's just not going to let anybody move in, and he's been very good at it. He's a true professional. I have another client that has about 600 doors in Philadelphia as well. Same way. They rather leave it vacant than put somebody that's crap in, because to get them out will cost them more than bringing somebody in. And also understanding all the permits that are involved from the beginning of the process of construction to the stabilization. You know, a lot of towns have rental licenses as well as business permits. They layer you with all these costs. You need to know what's going on. That's why I tell people, go to the zoning meetings where you're buying these properties, where you're doing renovation. You're going to find out where everybody is doing really well or doing really bad, and really who's not people you want to surround yourself with. You want to surround yourself with the right people in those communities or in those neighborhoods when it comes to construction and renovation. You don't want to hang out with the people that they're not being very well liked at the zoning meetings or being talked about at the zoning meetings. You don't want to be talked about at the zoning meetings. I don't want my name being brought up at a zoning meeting in a bad way, where I'm not there to defend myself and somebody's talking about me in third party in a bad way. So you need to understand the zoning and the permit process of the construction piece, because that can impact your cost as a real estate investor if you're wherever you're buying in whatever community you're buying. I wanted to give you a little update to our event that's coming up this week, which I'm excited about. We did announce the Friday luncheon at Moonshine Philly from 12 to 2 on Friday. I'll be discussing real estate investor mindset. Also, Yardell Perkins will be discussing social media strategies as a real estate investor or real estate professional. We might even get a guest appearance from Joseph Martella. I don't know. We'll see. We don't have confirmation yet. There might be a sighting of Joe Martella at the event. I don't expect more than 25 to 30 people. We do have 125 people signed and registered, paid for the event on Saturday, which I'm excited about. We will podcast that live, each interview, like each person that's doing the presentation. So they'll be put onto our podcast. They won't be live per se at on video like what we're doing now on Facebook and YouTube live. It's just not going to happen that way. We're going to cut, edit, and then put those onto our podcast website, as well as Apple and Spotify, and load those up following the event. It'll be 9 to 5. I will make an announcement if anyone wants to grab a drink or a bite afterwards. We'll probably go back to Moonshine Saturday afternoon, evening, probably about 5:30 or 6 o'clock. It'll be a great day of education and strategy, and really just getting to know one another and reconnecting with people. I'm excited about it because I'm doing a CE course on asset-based lending on Thursday with Garrett Rhodes. I'm doing a presentation at the Staten Island Board of Realtors during the day on Thursday. Wednesday afternoon, I'm going to be in Syracuse doing a discussion with real estate agents on asset-based lending. So I'll be in that mode, kind of getting into breaking everything down. I'll be providing everybody the worksheets that are attending the event on Saturday. We're going to also provide any material that we're providing right now for any of our followers and engaged listeners on the Creative Bird Strategies podcast. We're going to make some special announcements there as well, some things I won't discuss here just yet. So for some of the attendees, we'll get first crack at some opportunities that will present themselves at the Mummery Museum on Saturday, April 13th, 9 to 5. I'll be there 7 a.m. with Yardell. We'll be setting up and getting everything ready to go. You'll hopefully get some guest appearances like Joe Martella and a couple other people that will be coming to the event. But I really expect a lot of excitement in the room. And Philadelphia's a great city. Like, listen, all these metro cities are having their own struggle, but I see massive opportunities if you want to understand construction and rehab in a city like Philadelphia. I think right now I was up in Boston this past week and talking with some hard money lending groups that I work with quite often. I'm telling them, like, listen, you've got to change your mindset. The renovations that need to be done in a lot of these MSA cities are no longer for Class A or B renters. It's for the affordable housing, Section 8. And that's where the most amount of money could be made, personally, I think. From an investor lender perspective, I think your best money being renovated right now is not for the Class A or B plus neighborhoods. It's in the Class C, even C minus neighborhoods where it's Section 8 affordable housing. The voucher will pay a strong populace of the rent, and you maximize your return on your investment. That's where I think construction costs should be spent over the next 12 to 24 months. Personally, that's just from a lender's perspective. And if you asked me that 5 years ago, I would have maybe said more the B neighborhood. But I really feel that C neighborhood right now is robust. There's plentiful, there's a need for it, and affordable housing is really needed. I mean, I can tell you for a fact, I've done 5 motel conversion transactions in the past 12 months, all converting to Section 8. They're all filling up. It's not like there's any vacancies. They're all going to be 100% filled within 60 to 90 days. Those renovation costs are $15,000 per door. That client's buying at $50,000 a door. The back end value is $100,000 to $110,000 a door. Think about the numbers if you're buying a 25-unit motel and converting it to a multi-family investment property. You're buying for 50, 45, putting 15 in, and it's worth 115. Multiply that by 25, and you're making 400 a door. Figure out the numbers yourself. It's very profitable. You need to understand your construction costs. You need to surround yourself with good, like-minded individuals. You need to visit your zoning meetings, your neighborhood permit zoning groups. You need to go to your investor groups. You need to hang out people that are actually doing this, not talking about it. Be transactional. I want to thank everybody this morning for coming in. I want to thank our sponsors. We have Perkatech with Yardell Perkins, our social media strategist, and Oz Behind the Drape. We have MB Capital, our unsecured business line of credit referral program. Realty 411, Linda Pelagas, our national publication that provides all these national events, and the only clubhouse group that provides national events throughout the country: LA, Denver, Dallas, Florida, New York, and now Philadelphia for the second year. And then Lendmark Capital, myself, an asset-based lender, direct private lending, licensed in all 50 states, providing monies for 30-year fixed money on 1 through 25, fixed to rent 1 through 25, fixed to flip 1 through 25, new construction 1 through 25, mixed use, blanket loans, and we're here to provide strategy and advisory in the investment space. So I want to thank everybody this morning for a great room. Thank you, Joseph, and thank you, Justin. I think we had a really good discussion breakdown of construction from a high level. My quote this morning is 7 rules of life. Make peace with your past so it won't disturb your present. What other people think of you is none of your business. Time heals almost everything. Give it time. No one is in charge of your happiness except you. Don't compare your life to others and don't judge them. You have no idea what their journey is all about. Number 6, stop thinking too much. It's all right not to know the answers. And number 7, smile. You don't own all the problems in the world. Have a blessed Saturday morning. Take care of yourself. We'll be back here Sunday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to provide another hour of education, strategy, and discussion. Have a great Saturday, and I'll be ending the room in the next 30 seconds.